Volodymyr Zelensky
by a summit discussing the basic principles
involving Russia.
Putin put forward a proposal.
Not dividing the circle.
Now let's talk about the summit on peace in Ukraine, the summit that took place this weekend near the Alpine Swiss city of Lucerne. At a five-star resort situated beside a picturesque lake. Looking at the venue, it seemed like a holiday destination, not the place to find the solution to a war that has dragged on for almost 2.5 years. And in the end, that's what it proved to be, a holiday for world leaders and top diplomats, because there are no real solutions to speak of. The Swiss president gave the closing statement. She mentioned the three major points that were agreed upon.
Any use of nuclear energy and nuclear installations must be safe, secured, safeguarded, and environmentally sound. Secondly, food security must not be weaponized in any way. Thirdly, all prisoners of war must be released by complete exchange. All deported and unlawfully displaced Ukrainian children and all other Ukrainian civilians who were unlawfully detained must be returned to Ukraine.
Those were the three major talking points. Ukraine's nuclear power plants must be kept safe, Kiev should be allowed to export food, and all Ukrainians who are in Russia must be sent back home. Most of the countries who attended the summit agreed to these broad points. But the focus was on the elephant in the room, or rather the bear missing from the room. Russia, one of the two warring parties, was not at this summit. And what does that mean for this Swiss declaration? The points agreed to after 2 days of tough negotiations. It means that all of this was pointless. Some of the participants understood this, like India, Brazil, South Africa, and Saudi Arabia. They refused to sign the final declaration because it was meaningless without Russia's participation. In fact, India's statement summed it up.
In our view, only those options acceptable to both parties can lead to abiding peace. In line with this approach, we have decided to avoid association with the joint communiqué or any other document emerging from this summit.
Now, India and the Global South knew this before the summit started. They did send delegations to attend, but just diplomats, not heads of state, because they knew that it would be a waste of time, and Russia noted this. This is what the Kremlin spokesperson said about the skeptical participants.
Many of them, and this was a common point of view at this event, confirmed the understanding of the futility of any serious, substantive discussions without the presence of our country. We also noted this. Well, in general, of course, if we talk about the effectiveness of this meeting, then of course it approaches zero.
It may sound harsh, but it's on point. If Russia isn't losing the war, if it isn't suing for peace, then why would Moscow accept terms it hasn't helped draft? All of this posturing in the Swiss Alps is futile because at the end of the day, it won't affect Russia in the slightest. Moscow will keep waging its war, Ukrainian soldiers will keep fighting, and world leaders will keep wringing their hands and giving sermons while enjoying the finest hospitality, of course. Let's look at the real winners of this Swiss summit. The Bergenstock Resort, they just got a great deal of free publicity and funds from the Swiss government, no doubt, for the food and services that they provided. And they aren't alone. There are also Swiss artists who came up with this little installation. It says, Ukraine. Excellent use of taxpayer money. The whole event seems to have been about two things: boosting Swiss tourism and sending a message. Not to Russia, because they couldn't care less. The message was for a different audience. And the Swiss president let the cat out of the bag.
Here we are sending a clear signal to the people of Ukraine and to all those directly affected by the consequences of the war. A large part of the international community has the desire to bring change.
So the event was to boost Ukrainian morale, to convince them to not throw down their arms. You know what this looks like? The people of Ukraine being used as cannon fodder and the West cheering them on. If they really wanted peace, they would stop with these theatrics and instead bring Russia to the negotiating table. Unless that happens, these summits are just a waste of time and money.